Welcome to Season 2, Episode 5 of Beyond. I hope you had an incredible week. My husband and I celebrated our 5th-year wedding anniversary. We went down to Beverly Hills and danced and had a beautiful dinner and rode bikes like crazy kids on the streets of Hollywood. And I'm just so excited for this episode because we have spent 4 weeks together diving into the redesign phase of Beyond, redesigning your identity from the inside out. And the identity is the root. The identity is where it all connects and comes back to. So we have named the woman you are becoming. We have talked about identity, specificity, and frequency. And today we are doing the thing that makes it all real. Today is the day you make the declaration. This is not a wish. This is not a vision. It is a decision with a declaration. And there is a reason I am calling it the first honest declaration that you have made in years, because most of what passes for personal vision in our world is actually an idea that is mostly inspired by what is safe to want, or what is polite to claim, or even what is small enough to just not embarrass you if you fall short. And for us today, we stop negotiating and we stop trying to pretzel ourselves into a life that is no longer aligned with our truest desires. I am Katie Lynn Rojano, and this is the episode where we bring it all to life right now. So a few years ago, I remember sitting with a potential client one day, and she said, "Katie, I really want to find myself." This was a genuine expression of how stuck, lost, and masked she felt in her day-to-day experience, which we can all relate to. I know that there have been moments in my life where I have said, gosh, I feel like I lost myself and I want to find it. And I couldn't help but wonder where she thought herself was hiding. I paused for a moment and I asked her gently, "Did you lose her, or did you forget that you create her?" As she heard me, I watched the light return to her eyes, and I wish I could say this was uncommon, but it is actually very common. I can remember feeling so lost in my 20s, not because I was truly lost, but because I had changed so much after getting my degrees, being married, then divorced, becoming a mom, and starting my career. I did not recognize the woman I had become because so much circumstantial transition had happened so fast in my life. What I came to realize as I studied more about psychology and identity and behavior and metaphysics is that the idea that we could ever lose ourselves and have to find ourselves somewhere doesn't just keep us in the perpetual search, but it also strips us of our personal power and creative nature completely. It is understandable. It's understandable because for the first 2 decades of our lives, we are really learning through circumstances, outside influences, and modeling. We are relying on the provision of the adults we were dependent on and typically living according to the expectations of the rules we did not create for ourselves. However, there comes the phase of individuation where we have the desire to create our own way, and this typically starts in the teen years for most people. But the social conditioning can be so strong that we fall for this disempowering idea that we can be lost and that we can be found. Here at Beyond, your creative power is restored and leveraged for total fulfillment at any age. This process begins with the redesign and the declaration, because the declaration is not the finish line. It is actually the starting line for you never feeling lost ever again. Let me tell you what a declaration actually is, and also what it is not, because I want you to be clear on both before you make your very personal declaration. A declaration is not a goal. So goals are about future outcomes, right? They are a vision that we haven't created yet, and they're very specific. A declaration is about your day-to-day identity and way of being. So saying, "I will build a multi-million-dollar business by next year" is an example of a goal. Saying, "I am a woman who leads with confidence, curiosity, and compassion," now that is a declaration. This distinction is the difference between trying to execute something and deciding to be something. It is the difference between doing and being. A declaration is not an affirmation. Affirmations are often aspirational statements repeated until they feel true. I know you've heard of these and you've probably practiced them if you're anything like me, right? A declaration is a commitment to act as though the evolved identity is already real right now, which, as we discussed last week, is how the nervous system actually begins to install it rapidly. A declaration is not a performance. This is not a delusion. And you actually do not need to share it with anyone. You do not earn the right to declare who you are and who you will be. You don't need evidence to back it up. And a declaration is made from the inside out. It exists whether or not anyone witnesses it immediately. It exists whether or not anyone witnesses it immediately, and it does not require permission from any outside force. It only requires permission from you. A declaration is the moment you stop asking the world to tell you who you are and start showing the world who you are instead. Outside in versus inside out is a fundamental shift in how identity is created. And it is the most important distinction of the entire redesign phase. It can be so easy to think that when I have this, then I will be that. And to be frank with you, that is not the way that the universe that we live in is designed. Now, let me tell you why most women never make or follow through on a real declaration, and why this is not a character flaw, but a very logical response to what they have been taught. As women, we are taught explicitly and implicitly by our families and our cultures and our schools that claiming something before you have earned it can be sometimes arrogant or overzealous or even delusional. We've been told that humility means holding your aspirations loosely and that being realistic is a virtue. And so we negotiate. We soften, we add disclaimers, we say, I hope to, and I'm working toward, and I'm trying, and someday I would love to. We have become experts at wanting things in a way that protects us from the potential embarrassment, shame, or perceived failure of not yet having them. But here is the cost of that negotiation, because everything comes with a price tag. When you soften the declaration, you soften the identity. When you add the disclaimer, you are telling your nervous system, hey, this is conditional. And that the slightest sense of judgment or rejection or abandonment or fear, we can abandon it and let it go. We don't have to stick to it. We'll just pull back and shrink to what we're familiar with. This is not yet real. Keep waiting for the signal. And the nervous system does just that. The nervous system waits. It waits for the permission that will never come from the outside, because it can only come from you. It can only come from the inside out. Nobody can think the thoughts for you. Nobody can follow through on the actions you need to take, and nobody can make the decision for you. The declaration is how you give yourself permission. It is the moment you stop waiting and you start living from an authentic, true place. Now, what makes a declaration powerful? Because honestly, when I first started practicing this concept years ago, I thought, what could be so powerful about me saying out loud the things that I really desire and even writing it down on paper? So I want to make this very real and very tangible and logical for you, because my brain loves some logic and some real, true reasons how something that makes something effective. So here are the 4 qualities, because a declaration without these qualities tends to dissolve in the first week. So here are the first 4 qualities. So here are the 4 most powerful qualities of a declaration, because a declaration without these qualities tends to dissolve within the first 7 days. Quality 1 is specificity. We talked about this at length in episode 4 and 3 of the podcast. Your declaration must be specific enough that you could recognize it the moment it shows up. It's not, I am becoming a successful woman, right? That is not a declaration. That is a vibe. That is an idea, because how would you know? What specifically does the woman you are becoming feel? How does she know that she is successful? How does she move with her success? And what has she decided to embody and think and say every single day with her actions and with her words? Quality number 2 is present tense. This is my favorite. It is not I will be. It is not I am working on becoming. And it is not, oh, this is one of my pet peeves, I am trying. It is I am. I am her now. I am changing my relationship to my body. I am being visible and building my business. I am having powerful conversations. I am setting new boundaries. The present tense activates a different response in the nervous system than future tense does. Future tense says, I want it, but it's not here yet. Future tense is rooted in the absence of the thing. Present tense says, it's happening right now. It is leveraging the law of expectation in your favor, and your nervous system responds accordingly to this. Now, quality 3 is felt truth. Your declaration must pass the body test, right? We all have one. I'm sitting in a body right now, and you're listening to this podcast in a body. So when you say it, something must be felt in your body. When you speak your declaration out loud, I want you to feel what parts of your body really activate, what parts light up, what parts contract a little bit. Be present with yourself, because your body must be your ally in this process. The discomfort of being seen, the discomfort of claiming something you have not fully earned in the eyes of the world, that discomfort is not a red flag. It's actually a green one. It means that the declaration is bumping up against your adapted identity, and that is exactly what we want. So I'm going to sidebar real quick and say that when this discomfort arises in your body, I do not want you to try to ignore it. I do not want you to try to suppress it. I do not want you to try to think of a positive thought that overrides it. What I want you to do is I want you to say, I feel you. I feel you. I hear you. I see you. And I got you. I got you. We're walking anyway. We're going forward anyway, because we both know that we were built for this and we were made for this. And if it wasn't for us, then it wouldn't be on our heart. Now, quality number 4 is non-negotiability. So, have you ever made a declaration and then renegotiated that thing within the first 72 hours of making the declaration? Whether it was something like, I'm giving up sugar, or I'm starting a workout plan, or I'm going to film and record and put out these 5 marketing pieces of content this week. Look, your declaration should not have an escape route. It should not have a trap door. The statement of, I am a woman who leads a movement if everything works out, is not a declaration. It is a wish with footnotes and trapdoors. The declaration that we are making is made unconditionally from the woman who has gotten so clear about who she's here to be and who has decided that none of that is up for negotiation. Whatever happens next, this is who I am. That is what she says. No matter the circumstances, no matter the judgments, no matter who leaves and who stays. She is so solid and anchored in her declaration that she understands that every exit and every entry is contributing to bringing her dream self to life. Those four qualities, specificity, present tense, felt truth, and non-negotiability, are the anatomy of a declaration that actually changes something real. And now I want to tell you about what happens after you make the declaration, because this is the part most people don't really want to talk about. After the declaration, the old identity will push back. And I am going to be so honest with you, because I'm not here to just teach you this. I have lived this, okay? I have lived this work, and I'm still living it because I'm human. So the old identity, your adapted identity, will absolutely push back. And it will do this in some ways that feel completely rational. Some of them sound like, I can start tomorrow. Some of them sound like, next quarter is a better time. Some of them sound like, well, maybe $1 million was too much. Maybe $1 million was too much. Maybe we'll go for 750,000. You will find logical and emotional reasons to shrink back to what is familiar. A tough week will happen, and your brain might try to conclude that you were just delusional or caught up in a moment of inspiration. You will be tempted to look at the evidence and find all the ways that it contradicts your declaration, and be totally blind to all of the ways that it confirms it. And this is not a sign that the declaration was wrong. This is your nervous system doing its job, which is to protect you from the unfamiliar and preserve what is familiar. The declaration that you make today threatens your familiar reality and your adapted identity. The adapted identity resists. This is human nature, and it does not represent inadequacy or incapability. It is a sign that you get to evaluate all of the evidence inside of you and outside of you equitably. So what you do in the resistance is the whole of phase 2, which is excavate. We will spend 5 episodes in the excavate process starting next week. But for today, I want you to know, expect the resistance, because the resistance is proof that the declaration landed somewhere real. It is proof not just in human evidence, but it's also proof in nature, right? What happens the moment the caterpillar is equipped with wings and completed the transformation? What does the butterfly have to do? They have to navigate the resistance and break through the chrysalis. It has to find a way out of the cocoon, which is tight. It is dark. It is uncomfortable, I'm sure. I don't know. I've never talked to a butterfly, but I would imagine being in such a tight space with giant wings is probably real uncomfortable. We see it in nature everywhere, and we are a part of nature. So I want to take you through the declaration itself right now. We are going to do this together. It's not as a writing exercise, although you can do it as a writing exercise. I personally love not just saying this out loud, but writing it as well. We're going to do it today as an actual voiced moment of commitment. So even if you are listening today in your car, or maybe you're on a walk, or in headphones at the kitchen table, or where you're putting dishes away, I want you to say yours out loud and trust whatever comes through first, because your voice matters. And the only person who has ever heard every single word you've ever spoken in your life is you. Your cells hear it, your ears hear it, your body vibrates with the vocal cords that are in your throat and travel from your brain to your heart. It is listening. So you start here. You start with this sentence. You say, I am a woman who, and then you name the thing that you have been desiring. And maybe you've been afraid to admit it out loud. That thing that you have been keeping close to the chest, the version of yourself that maybe feels too big to claim out loud right now, or even silly. I know that I've had moments like this where I felt flat out silly saying the thing that I desired because it felt just nonsensical to my logical brain until it came true. So take this moment and say, I am a woman who, and say it out loud. Let it be too big. Finish that sentence. Let it be stretchy and uncomfortable and silly and just awkward for a few moments. You can handle it, and you've been ready. So I'm going to pause right here, and you say it with me. I am a woman who, and you finish that sentence. There it is. Whatever you just said, that is the declaration. It did not have to be perfect because perfection is a lie, but it did need to be true and real for you. And real, the realness, the rawness, the honesty is what we require to make the lasting changes that you so deeply desire to experience. I remember sitting with a client named Camille who came to me with the same sentence that she had been saying to all her other coaches for 5 years. She said, Katie, I just want to do work that matters. And I go, great. What is that? And she could not with specificity say what that was. She could not declare it. She could not paint the picture of what doing work that matters looked like for her on a Wednesday or a Thursday or a Sunday. In her declaration session, I asked her to try without the safety net, without the edits, without the fear. I asked her to say what she really, truly meant. She paused and she said, I am a woman who changes how her industry thinks about leadership, not just incrementally, but fundamentally, through talks, through workshops, and through client work that changes how companies are run and teams are made. It evokes more compassion, more accountability, and more empowerment in every single workplace that I get to be a part of. When she finished, her eyes filled with tears immediately. They were not tears of sadness or grief. They were tears of truth and knowing. It was like she finally gave herself permission to say the honest thing out loud. She said, I've never said that out loud to anyone before. And I said, yeah, you've known this. In your heart, in your spirit, in your soul, you have known that you were here to change the way the industry thinks about leadership, and not just change the way they think about leadership. You were here to steward them into it, to be on stages, to be working with CEOs, to be working with teams. That's where your heart is. And you've been editing it for the last 5 years. Now, 2 months later, Camille was invited to be the keynote speaker at a conference that she had previously felt unqualified for. The honest declaration that she gave herself permission to say out loud and begin living into allowed her to be real with herself and taken seriously by others. She finally started to take herself seriously, and it allowed her to see new opportunities, to have different conversations with new people, to speak with conviction and from a true, authentic place. And because she knew this declaration was legitimate, guess what? People in her world began to regard her as someone who is legitimate and qualified and capable as well. So our desires, and declarations are often signals to our true capacity, not the capacity that we embody when we are in our people-pleasing mode or trying to fit in or trying to do it all ourselves, because these are actually the things that limit our real capacity. They stifle it, and they stifle our lived experience of our own truth. They make us feel stuck. They make us feel lost. They make us feel like we should question everything we've ever thought about ourselves, and we should dumb down how we speak, and we should manage our vulnerability. And that is just not going to work from this point forward, because you didn't come here to be managed. You came here to live out loud with integrity and with honesty and with vulnerability and with joy and with love and with compassion and with steadfastness. That's what you came here for. And so today, I hope that you made your declaration, and I hope that you take the time at some point to write it down somewhere. Because as of right now, we have completed Arc 1 of the RED method. This is the redesign, and the last 4 episodes, plus this episode of life-changing content and processes, are designed to get you on track quickly to being the woman of your dreams. Notice I didn't say becoming the woman of your dreams. These episodes are in service to you being her right now. You have been introduced to phase 1 of the RED method. This is my proprietary method to transformation that is sustainable and expansive and authentic. You have named the woman you are becoming. You have gotten specific about who she is, how she thinks, what she knows to be true, and the action she takes to bring her vision to life right now. You have begun practicing her frequency, and today you made the declaration. This is major. So many people unknowingly waste years of their precious lives living in the area of vague intention, and I know because I was one of them. And this work was built from the awareness that I didn't just have it backwards, I had it completely wrong. And the time that I spent living in a way that postponed my dream reality is time that I cannot get back. But what I can do is I can teach you what does work. And I can teach you what I use right now in my life. And in episodes 1 through 5 of season 2 of Beyond, you have it. And if you've listened to all 5 episodes, you have officially moved through it in 5 weeks. I commend you and I salute you for this. And next week, we begin the second phase, which is the excavation. We dive into the patterns, the loops, the ones that have been quietly running your whole life and preventing you from actualizing everything you just declared. We will take the time to name these patterns and these loops with precision. We will get clear and understand what they are actually protecting, what they were designed in service to, and we also begin the deliberate work of dismantling them and reinstalling something more effective and more aligned so that you can experience results right now. I am Katie Rojano. This is Beyond. Your declaration has been made, and now the real work begins. If you are ready to get results even faster, take a moment to access the Mental Mastery Framework, which is your daily practice for holding the declaration through what comes next. The link is in the show notes, and it is the practice that keeps a declaration alive even when the resistance shows up. I do this practice every single day. I swear by it. It has helped me to drop 60 pounds, be in a relationship that I love, and build a business that allows me to have the life that I truly, truly desired. Start this week. Start Mental Mastery this week and be ready for people to start noticing the shifts in you and asking how you did it. If you are interested in the RED method, the application for individual coaching is available now at katielynnrojano.com. That is KATIELYNNROJANO.com. I am here with you in this process, and my hope is that you take this week to go beyond the mind, beyond the stories, and beyond the limits. I will see you next week.